Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Ji.
Hare Krishna.
Who is the host right now? Okay, Ji. I just want to share the screen. Hare Krishna, Shampoo.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I just made you the host now.
Okay. So, yeah. This is Canto 3rd, Chapter 1, isn't it?
Canto 1, Chapter 3, Prabhuji.
Oh, Canto 1, Chapter 3.
Chapter 3, verses 1 to 22. Yeah, verses 1 to 22.
Actually, I just had another class, Facebook Live, and I was speaking from Canto 3. And yeah, this is what we need. Yes. Okay, so we can start reciting the verses.
Prabhuji, would someone translate in English as well?
Yeah, we need the English translations and the Sanskrit translations, please, Prabhuji.
We don't have to pay anybody, then I can read the translation, or I can read the Sanskrit, whatever is convenient.
We have the reciters, myself and Shyam Prabhu, but the screen, the words are not right on the screen, the verses are not right. So we just need the translations in Sanskrit and in English. But what we are seeing on the screen is slightly different to what we normally read.
Oh, Chapter 3, Text 1, Sutta Vacha, using English and English translation.
No.
Let me see, you are seeing some other screen, just a sec. It could be, oh, I see, you were seeing something else. I'm so sorry. Is it better now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sorry, I was showing one particular screen. Now I've shared my entire screen. Please.
Yes, but there is something else on the screen as well, which you need to remove from the screen. It's saying making sure it's, oh, okay. All right, now that's better. Thank you.
Verses are, Prabhuji, is it possible to just increase the size? I mean,
You want to increase the size? Yeah, I'll increase the size. No problem.
yeah, it's a little bit more, Prabhuji.
Sure. Better?
Yeah, Prabhuji, a little bit, maybe if just one more would be fine, I think. Just making sure the place where I'm sitting is a bit. Okay, Prabhuji, so I'll get started.
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'll go list Prabhupada. Sutta Uvacha Jagre Paurasham Rupam Bhagavan Mahad Adibi Sambhutam Sodasha Kalam Adoloka Sishkrishaye.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Sutta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universes.
Text number 2. Yasyambasi sayanasya yoga nidram vitanvataha nabi hridam pujat asit brahma vishva srijam patihi.
Hare Krishna, could you please mute the background noise? Thank you. Translation. As part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe, from the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest.
Text number 3. Yasya vayava samstane kalpito lokavistaraha tadvai bhagavato rupam visudam sattvam urjitam.
Translation. It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence.
Text number 4. Pasyante adorupam adabra chaksusa sahasra padaro bhujananda bhutam sahasra murdra sravanakshi nasikam sahasra maule ambara kundala sat.
The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands.
Text number 5. Etananavataranam nidanam bijam avyayam yasyam samshena sriyante devatiryan naradayaha.
This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created.
Text number 6. Saiva partamam devaha kaumaram sargamashritah chachara dushkaram brahmacharyam akanditam.
First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth.
Dvitiyam tu bhavayasya rasatala gatam mahim udarishyan upadata yashnesa saukaram vapuhu.
The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of a boar, the second incarnation, and for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe.
Text number 8. Text number 8. Tritiyam rishi sargam vai devarshitam upetyashaha tantaram satvatam achasta naishkarmyam karmanam yataha.
In the millennium of the rishis, the personality of Godhead accepted the third empowered incarnation in the form of Devarshi Narada, who is a great sage among the demigods. He collected expositions of the Vedas which deal with devotional service and which inspire a non-fruitive action.
Text number 9. Turya dharma kala sarge nara narayan rishi bhutavatma samopetam akara dusharam napatapaha.
In the fourth incarnation, the Lord became Nara and Narayana, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma. Thus he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses.
Text number 10. Panchama kapilo nama sidesha kaya kala viputam provacha surayai sankyam tattvagrama vinirnayam.
The fifth incarnation, named Lord Kapila, is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of the creative elements and metaphysics to Asuri Brahmana, for in course of time, this knowledge had been lost.
Text number 11. Sastam atrir upatyatmam rita prapto nasuyaya aniviksikam akar alarkaye prahaladivya uchivan.
The sixth incarnation of the Purusha was the son of the sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Anasuya, who prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlada, and others, Yadu, Haihaya, etc.
Text number 12. Tata saptama akutyam ruchir yajno vyajayate yata sayamadhyai suragonai apat swayam bhuvantaram.
The seventh incarnation was Yagna, the son of Prajapati Ruchi and his wife Akuti. He controlled the period during the change of the Swayambhuva Manu and was assisted by demigods such as his son Yama.
Text number 13. Astame mir devyam tu naber jata urukramaha darshayan vartma dhiranam sarvasrama namaskritam.
The eighth incarnation was King Rishabha, son of King Nabhi, and his wife Meru Devi. In this incarnation, the Lord showed the path of perfection, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life.
Text number 14. Rishibir yachito beji navamam partivam vapuhu dugde mam oshadir vipras tenayam sa usatamaha.
O Brahmanas, in the ninth incarnation, the Lord, prayed for by sages, accepted the body of a king, Prathu, who cultivated the land to yield various produce, and for that reason, the earth was beautiful and attractive.
Text number 15. Rupam sajagrahe martsyam chaksuso dadi samplave nave aropya mahimayam apad vaishvasvatam manum.
When there was a complete inundation after the period of the Chaksusa Manu, and the whole world was deep within water, the Lord accepted the form of a fish and protected Vaivasvata Manu, keeping him on a boat.
Text number 16. Surashuranam udadim matnatam mandarachalam dadrekamata rupena prasta ekadase vibhuhu.
The 11th incarnation of the Lord took the form of a tortoise, whose shell served as a pivot for the Mandarachala hill, which was being used as a churning rod by the theists and atheists of the universe.
Text number 17. Dhanavataram dvadasamam trayodasamam evacha apayayat suran anyan mohinya mohayan striya.
In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari, and in the 13th, he allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink.
Text number 18. Chaturdasham narasimham bibra daityendram urjitam dadara kara jair urav erakam kata kridyata.
In the 14th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Narasimha and bifurcated the strong body of the atheist Hiranyakashipu with his nails, just as a carpenter pierces cane.
Text number 19. Panchadasam vamanakam kritavagad udaravam bale padatrayam yachamanaha pratyadistsu stripistamam.
In the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumed the form of a dwarf Brahmana, Vamana, and visited the arena of sacrifice arranged by Maharaja Bali. Although at heart, he was willing to regain the kingdom of the 3 planetary systems, he simply asked for a donation of 3 steps of land.
Text number 20. Avatare soda same pasyan brahmadruho nripan tri sapta kritva kupito nishatram akaron mahim.
In the 16th incarnation of the Godhead, the Lord, as Bhrigupati, annihilated the administrative class, Kshatriyas, 21 times, being angry with them because of their rebellion against the Brahmanas, the intelligent class.
Text number 21. Tata saptadase jataha satwatyam parasarat chakre vedataro shaka dristva pumsolpa medashaha.
Thereafter, in the 17th incarnation of Godhead, Sri Vyasadeva appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parasara Muni, and he divided the one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, seeing that the people in general were less intelligent.
Thank you very much, Shyam Prabhuji and Santosh Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Sorry, my screen sliding was not coherent with your speaking. Actually, the screen is so big now. I'm slightly moving, it's moving too fast. Because it was 130% of what it is normally is. So sorry for that. And today's verse, I believe, is this 1:3:10. And is everybody able to see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Just recite the key verses and then we'll move on. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakte Bhavati Nashtiki. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse number 10. Panchamaha Kapilo Nama Siddheshah Kala Viplutam Govacha Suraye Sankhyam Tattvagrama Vinirvayam Tattvagrama Vinirnayam. Panchamaha Kapilo Nama Siddheshah Kala Viplutam Provascha Suryaye Sankhyam Tattvagrama Vinirnayam Panchamah Kapilo Nama Siddheshah Kala Viplutam Provacha Suryaye Sankhyam Tattvagrama Vinirnayam. Synonyms. Panchamaha, the fifth one. Kapila, Kapila, name of the name. Siddheshah, the foremost among the perfects. Kala, time. Viplutam, lost. Provacha, said. Asurya, unto the Brahman named Asuri. Sankhyam, metaphysics. Tattvagram, the sum total of the creative elements. Vinirnayam, exposition. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The fifth incarnation, named Lord Kapila, is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of the creative elements and metaphysics to Asuri Brahmana. For in course of time, this knowledge had been lost. So I'm trying to mute someone. You can hear some background sounds. So please forgive me, I'm muting some of the open mics. Okay. The sum total of the creative element is 24 in all. Each and every one of them is explicitly explained in the system of Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy is generally called metaphysics by the European scholars. The etymological meaning of Sankhya is that which explains very lucidly by analysis of the material elements. This was done for the first time by Lord Kapila, who is said herein to be the fifth in the line of incarnations. So I'm just going to switch off the light in the room. Please bear with me. Om Jnanam Timindasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvaiva cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this chapter third is entitled as the incarnations of Krishna. And we see that this chapter is in answer to the questions that are asked in the very first chapter by the sages of Naimisharanya. So we can see that in chapter 1, verse number 17 and 18, there are two questions asked. chapter 17 and 18, which is about Purusha Avtaras and Leela Avtaras. Tasya karmani udarani parigitani suribhihi bruhinah shraddha dhananam leelaya dadatah kalaha. So these sages are asking to Srila Sut Goswami, his transcendental acts, his means Krishna's transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narad sing of them. Please, therefore, speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventure he performs in his incarnations. So that was the first question. And then they go on asking, Atha khayahi harer dhiman avatar katah shubha shubha Leela vidattah swairam ishwarasyatmamayaya. O wise Sutta, please narrate to us the transcendental pastime of the Supreme Godhead, multi-incarnations. Such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by his internal powers. So these are two questions that were asked, and this chapter is emerging as an answer to these two questions. And we can see that how Srila Sut Goswami is now listing all the Leela and other incarnations of the Lord one after another. Now, this is a very introductory part. It's not a very elaborate description of all the Leelas of the Lord. He's just introducing one after the other. There are so many incarnations. There are 4 Kumaras. There is Varahadev, is Narad Muni, Suta Goswami. Next name, sorry, Narad Muni, and then Suta Goswami says about Nar Narayan Rishi, Lord Kapiladev, Datyatriya Muni, Yagna, King Rishabh, Prithu Maharaj, Matsya Deva, Kurma Avatar, Dhanvantri Avatar, Mohini Murti, and so on. Nrsimhadev Bhagavan, Vamandev, Parshuram, Vyasadev, Ramachandra, Balaramji, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. So it is said that there are as many incarnations. It is said that incarnations of the Lords are innumerable, and they are like rivulets flowing from an inexhaustible source of water. So Srila Vishwanath Chakri Thakur also says, normally by giving out water, a lake becomes exhausted, but countless avatars arising from the Lord, like thousands of small streams, natural torrents that flow from an inexhaustible lake. So in this regard, I'm remembering one commentary or one lecture of Srila Prabhupada. He was giving an example of sun, and he was saying that, look, there's always a 6 a.m. in any one place, which means that sun is going to rise at 6 a.m., for example, then that 6 a.m. will happen everywhere, every moment. You will find that that 6 a.m. is present somewhere in the planet. What he wants to say that similarly, Krishna is present at any moment in time, somewhere on the planet, somewhere in the material world. And each of these incarnations are counted as incarnation, hence they are innumerable. So somewhere in some planetary system, there are innumerable planetary systems. What to talk about just planets. So in each of these planetary systems, there are incarnations of Krishna always happening. some manvantara, some incarnation, some pastime is going on. It is said that even Anantashesh, Lord Anantashesh, speak about the incarnations of Krishna. It will not be enough, because the glories of the unlimited Lord are unlimited. This is what has been described. Very difficult to comprehend, but this is the summum bonum of the incarnations. And therefore, Shuddha Goswami is only describing very key prime incarnations before us. In this particular verse, there's a discussion about Kapila Muni. And when you'll go to Canto 3, you will perhaps see a lot more about Kapila Muni. I was trying to see what can be included in today's discussion about Kapila Muni. And as we go along, we'll get familiarized with these pastimes. So there was this worshipable Kardamba Muni who has been practicing the penances on the bank of the river Saraswati, and he was performing these penances for thousands and thousands of years. It's said tens and thousands of years. They were all commanded by Lord Brahma being the presiding deity for creation. He is responsible. So he was appealing that you should all have progenies. So he was appealing to his children like Swambhu Manu. Now Swambhu Manu had Priyavrata as one of the son. The other son was Uttanapada, and has a daughter with the name of Devahuti. Devahuti. Devahuti is the sister of Priyavrata and Uttanapada, who would in the future becomes the wife of sage Kardamba Muni. So this Swambhu Manu has been the ruler of the earth with his 7 oceans, it is said. And by the penances of Kardamba Muni, Lord became very pleased. He was very pleased. And he decided to appear before Kardamba Muni. And when Lord appeared before Kardamba Muni started glorifying the Lord. He started praising the Lord, because seeing the Lord was the ultimate goal of his life. And but at the same time, Kardama Muni has these desires, which were slightly material desires. And he did not withhold these desires, although he knew that these were not the ideal things to ask. But he still wanted to express his desire to the Supreme Lord, who was effulgent like a sun, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies. And he was wearing a spotless yellow silk dhoti and lotus face with dark locks of curly hair, such a beautiful form, which was adorned with crowns and earrings, and he was holding conch shells, disc, and mace. So obviously Kardama Muni is seeing the Vishnu form of the Lord, the Vaikuntha form of the Lord, and he could see the Kaustubh gem suspended within his neck, or the golden streak on the chest. Lord was stood in the air with his lotus feet seated on the Garuda. In this position, Kardama Muni is worshipping the Lord and he's saying beautiful prayers. He's saying that, "Oh my Lord," after glorifying with rightful words, he said, "Oh my Lord, I'm desiring to marry a girl of like disposition." Srila Prabhupada mentioned this word like disposition is very, very important. It is very important that the girl and the boy has the same similar disposition so that they can serve the Lord and achieve the goal of life after going through their grahastha ashram. So he said, I would desire to marry a girl with like disposition who may prove to be a person who could satisfy all my desires and who I can serve with towards the end. I can take your shelter. So when Kardamuni expressed his desires like this, Krishna, already knowing this desire of Kardamuni, or Lord Vishnu, he spoke to Kardamuni that I knew what was in your mind, and therefore I have already arranged for that what you have been worshipping me through your mental and sensory discipline. Now it is important that one may feel, and sometimes I hear people saying, well, I don't ask anything from God. Well, I don't pray to God for material things. Well, I don't really ask anything, in my words. Well, we can see from this example that how the heart of Kardama Muni is read by Supreme Lord. Because Lord is seated in the heart of every living entity, and he knows what are our desires. Therefore, it is said in Krishna consciousness that we need to change our thinking. We need to change our desires. Because Lord, or material energy, if they are materialistic desires, material energy will fulfill the plans. Spiritual desires, Krishna will make arrangements. So, and through the material energy, those desires, spiritual desires can also be fulfilled, so we can come closer to the Lord. And therefore, Krishna consciousness is the process of overhauling and really in being introspective of our desires. If the desire is to enjoy the material world and have the hope of achieving something great within our lifetimes, which are very, very small in front of the entire creation and the timelines that we are reading from Bhagavatam, we will realize this timeline is very short. But still our hearts are full of such desires. And if such desires are there, then Lord will perhaps the material energy will perhaps fulfill them. Therefore, Prabhupada also mentions that Kardama Muni could have worshipped Lord Shiva, Uma for marriage, but he chose to worship Supreme Lord. Because Supreme Lord not only gives what we want, he can also give the knowledge to come to him. So he says that it is better you come to me directly, because then I can give you gyan by which you can come to me for the real purpose, which is love of God, and not just for fulfilling the material desires. So Lord declared that I have already made arrangements, and this emperor, whose name is Swambhu Manu, he is son of Lord Brahma, and he has a very beautiful daughter. She's very beautiful. Lord is describing her eyes are black and she's ready for marriage. She has a very, very good character, very good qualities, and she has been searching for a good husband. So Lord declared that her parents will come, which is Swambhu Manu. Her parents will come and they will offer her hand to you in the marriage. So by this benediction, Kardam Muni was blessed by the Lord himself. Lord further said that she is the type you have been thinking of in your heart for all these long years. See, Krishna is in the heart, so he knows what's going on in our hearts. And he said that she will soon be yours and will serve you to your heart content. Then he further said that she'll bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown in her by you. And through the daughters, they'll be married to many sages who will bring about many children. At the same time, then he declared, within your heart, which will be cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your activities, you will finally attain to me. You see, Krishna will give him commands, instructions, how to perform devotional service, so that ultimately his heart is cleansed. One can say that, okay, Krishna is right before him, and but still, the heart was filled with some desires which have to be still fulfilled, and hence Krishna is saying that when you will perform austerities and devotional service, what did he say? You perform all your activities, offer results to me. That's what exactly Krishna said to Arjun in Bhagavad Gita. Yad karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhoshi dadashi yad yat tapassat kaunteya tat kurmat arpanam. Everything you do, you give it to me. So similarly here, we can see how Kardam Muni will be given instructions that you give it to me, everything that you would do. So hence, Krishna revealed himself, and then he departed from that place. That place at a lake called Bindu Sarovar. And this Bindu Sarovar is a very special lake. We'll talk about it some other day. So at that place, then after a lot of time went by, Swambhu Manu with his wife mounted his chariot, and he, as per the prophecy of the Lord, he came to that place, and he told Kardam Muni that my daughter, who is sister of Priyavata and Uttanapad, she is seeking a suitable husband in terms of character, qualities, age, and she has been hearing about your noble character from the sage Narad. So she has fixed her mind upon you. See, in the ancient time, it was by the power of hearing that one could see. And we can see that how, in case of Rukmani Devi also, we can see how she was hearing about Krishna from sage Durvasha, and she attracted so much of love and attachment for Lord Krishna that she wanted to marry her. Similarly, in case of Devahuti, we see that how she has been hearing about Kardamba Muni, and finally she felt that she would like to marry him. So eventually Kardam Muni accepted the hand of Devahuti, and the parents, which is Swambhu Manu, he left from the scene with his wife. The chaste Devahuti, she was very, very noble character. She could understand desires of her husband, and she chose to serve her husband constantly. Not that her husband was in a destitute situation that she would not serve, or she would not leave the palatial facilities. Rather, she would serve him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, would serve her husband. So Devavati served with such intimacy and with great respect. Not only that, she also showed a lot of control of the senses, because Kardam Muni was performing austerities and was following all the regulative principles. So a natural, sweet love born out of sacrifice developed between them two. And she would also serve with nice, sweet words. At some point in time, then she mentioned to her husband, Kardam Muni, that now the time has come, O my Lord, please fulfill my desires and give me children. And Kardam Muni could see how she has served so well, and then by his yogic powers, he created a celestial aerial planet and asked her to take bath in this Bindu Sarovar, which can grant all the desires of a human being. And then they mounted on this plane, aerial plane, and then they traveled the entire universe. She appeared to be very, very beautiful. She gained all her fragrance and youth. And not only that, Kardamuni also created some thousands of maidservants in the service of his wife. Fulfilling the desire of Devahuti, Kardamuni expanded himself into 9 plenary expansions, and he gave the gift of semen in the womb of Devahuti 9 times. As a result, it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavat, the very next day, 9 daughters were born. And Kardam Muni then said to his wife Devahuti that now the time has come that I must go and perform my penances to fulfill the desire of Lord Vishnu and ultimately achieve the goal of life, the goal of human life. At that time, Devahuti looked at her daughters and said that I have had the opportunity to serve you and to gain a lot of spiritual knowledge. Instead, I have not done that, and instead I have been requesting you to give me these children. Who in your absence will give me this knowledge if you take sannyas? And then Kardam Muni said, no, you will beget a son in your womb who will be Supreme Personality of Godhead. His name will be Kapila. And then they performed austerities, and Lord Vishnu himself appeared in the heart and of Kardam Muni, went to the heart of Devahuti, and a beautiful son was born. And then Kardam Muni took leave of his wife, ultimately to achieve the goal of life, which eventually he achieved. Meanwhile, Lord Kapila, who is the exponent of Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya means counting. And he explained that how you can break down the entire nature, which is your earth, fire, water, air, ether, and the senses which are related to this nature, which is your ear, nose, skin, and so on. Earth, fire, air, ether, sound. So earth, fire, water, air, ether. and then the related sense objects, senses, and the sense objects, all of them becomes around 15, and then there are other elements put together, including the soul and super soul, they all become 25. So he broke down the entire variety and variegatedness into simple countable numbers. And of course, he gave the higher knowledge to of the soul supreme and the goal of life to his mother, Devahuti, which are recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam as conversations between Lord Kapila and his mother, which will eventually we will go through. So this was in short how Lord Kapila appeared in the world from the womb of Devahuti on the request of Devahuti by her husband Kadamba Muni and by the benediction of Lord Vishnu himself. These are very extraordinary personalities, and the Lord chose to appear between them and give this knowledge or propound the knowledge of Sankhya philosophy. So I'll stop this session here. We have, as I said, complete chapters dedicated to these pastimes. Canto 3rd, chapter 21. Those who are interested, they can read a lot more about Kapila Muni from these cantos. So I'll stop this session here for now. If there are any questions or any comments, we can take that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Manu Prabhu. Thank you very much for your wonderful class. I just wanted to know about these 24 elements. Why did he have to explain about that Shankar philosophy to his mother? What was the purpose?
So we see in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is explaining that how there's mind, there's intelligence, there's soul, there's super soul, there's false ego. He's also explaining that how our bodies are made of anal vayu, right? So fire, this is the way to look from the spiritual life. It's not something new. It is said in Bhagavatam that it was lost, that knowledge was lost. And therefore, Lord Kapila was imparting that knowledge. It isn't any different from what we hear and study from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It does means that those who cannot see God as a person at least can see the world into the elements of the matter. And then they can see how the soul and super soul are the force behind this matter. And is giving a vision which is transcendental ability to see. And it is mentioned in the verse Asuri Brahman. So I myself has to understand it. It appears to me that this philosophy did not much emphasize on the personality of Godhead, but rather on the material elements and a correlation between all these elements and between the soul, which is the jiva. So this could be the only reason I can think of that this was spoken. But
did she ask particular question to
yes, there are plenty of questions that was asked between Devahuti and dialogue is a conversation. I think we'll hold that discussion for Canto 3. It's a very intriguing and very detailed dialogue. So we'll definitely get more answers there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I want to know about Kapila Muni. Like I was hearing in a class that there's one original Kapila Muni Prabhupada mentioned, and one is duplicate or imitating Kapil Muni. What is the difference, Prabhuji?
So I think Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in his lectures many times, and I was also reading through Vedabase. He mentions that there's a what do you call imposter Kapila Muni, and it's only through it's only through Srila Prabhupada I've heard it. So I can't say for sure who is the other Kapila Muni, but Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that Kapila Muni is the Devahuti son Kapila Muni, not the imposter Kapila Muni. So I wouldn't know more about this Kapila Muni. But he
Yeah,
said that
Prabhuji.
there is the atheist Kapila Muni as well.
Yeah, that they call that is atheist. The other imposter Kapil Muni was atheist. He doesn't believe in Krishna, and I don't know what kind of philosophy he given.
So in 1974, Srila Prabhupada spoke in this lecture. I'm on the Vedabase right now. I had this page read through this morning in preparation towards the class. Prabhupada is saying, so Kapila is this Kapila. This Kapila is atheist Kapila. He's a different Kapila. Original Kapila is the son of Devahuti, son of Kardamba Muni and Devahuti, who is described in third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He is incarnation of Krishna, God, Kapila, and actually he enunciated Sankhya philosophy. This Sankhya philosophy, which is known in Europe amongst the European scholars, that is the atheist Kapila. It is not original Kapila. So it appears that there is a sort of metaphysical philosophy that is prevalent in the West, and Prabhupada is trying to tell that this is very different from the philosophy of Kapila and Srimad Bhagavatam. He's having this discussion with Professor Regame, and Regame has said to Prabhupada, yes, thank you. Now I'm still concerned with two of the incarnations, because for me, this is the doctrine of personalism and personal highest form of God. Now, among two of the incarnation, there is Kapila and Buddha. And Kapila is practically, finally, the classical Sankhya, the atheist. How could it be? So in that, Prabhupada is answering that is the imitation Kapila, the atheist Kapila. And the original Kapila is in the Bhagavatam. So that's the only contest letter I've read from Prabhupada. I really don't know who is this atheist Kapila and what kind of philosophy has been giving. Maybe we can gain more knowledge from somewhere. But the more important aspect is that there are two Kapilas. So if somebody is reading some atheist Kapila philosophy, don't mistake it to be the Kapila philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. There are no questions here. Hare Krishna, thank you very much for a blissful class. Very nice indeed. Thanks. Thank you. When we come to Canto 3, it's very beautiful narration, the story I've just told. Beautiful details and so much of expressions are there. And so many lessons are there from the life of Devahuti and Kardamba Muni. So as we go through, we'll perhaps learn more ourselves and purify our hearts. If there is no more question, yes, Krishnani Mataji, my obeisance to you.
Same to you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Prabhu, yeah, this Sankhya philosophy, it's very, very, very difficult to understand. And it is the devotees. We don't need to know or learn much about it. So we never try to understand it. So we said try it because there's so much, like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and C1, there's so much there. So I never understood much of this Sankhya as well. Is there any need of learning or?
No, so we learn as much as Srila Prabhupada has given us. So we know if there is someone discussing about Sankhya, we know about it. And the ultimate philosophy and everything is given by Prabhupada, we are following it. But when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam and if there are mentions and Srila Prabhupada has given beautiful purports, it is our duty to perhaps learn them and see. It adds to our devotion and faith to the Lord. It won't work against us because we are reading it through the lens of Srila Prabhupada. And because we are attracted to the personal form of the Lord, like Gop Kumar, he was not very satisfied with anywhere actually. He was not satisfied in heavenly planets and Brahmaloka and the Brahman Jyoti. He
Yeah.
was not even satisfied in Vaikuntha Loka. He got satisfied only when he met Krishna, the cowherd boy with his flute in Vrindavan. So devotees have their feelings and mindset in the form of the image, the form of the Lord in a certain way. And that's where they will feel satisfied, you see, Mataji. So it's none of our faults.
Thank you. Yeah, that's true. Hari.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, it's been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that Sankhya philosophy and Bhakti Yoga is the same thing. There's no difference in that both. If you do study one, you get the understanding of both.
So everything, whether it's Jnana Yoga, whether it's Dhyana Yoga, whether it's Sankhya philosophy, all must culminate into the goal of life, which is Prema Pumartha Mahan, getting love of God. So if the explainer, the one who is explaining has put the context right and lead us to the service of the Lord, then they all are leading to the same goal of life. However, bhakti is the easiest and most pleasing to the Lord. And Krishna has said that time and again in his Gita and everywhere else. And as devotees, we can just appreciate bhakti so much. All other philosophies ultimately must lead us to this one goal of life, which is developing our serving attitude to the Lord and keeping our identities at two, Dvaitavad, not Advaitavad. One, not monism, but two, that Lord is separate, we are separate, and our relationship is to serve the Lord. And then that is the ultimate objective of bhakti. I hope that makes it a little clear. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, dear devotees, thank you very much for hearing this session. I pay my obeisances unto all of you. Panchakalpatarubhyascha
कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। हरे कृष्णा हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna,
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे
Krishna
हरे
Hare Hare,
राम
Hare
राम
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
हरे
Rama,
हरे।
Hare Hare.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice class.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you, Hare
Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.